In this video, we're going to take the concepts that we just learned in building a full-fledged profit and loss and repeat those steps to now build a full-fledged balance sheet. Think you can do it? Go ahead and pause this video and meet me back here whenever you're ready to go over the solution. All right, let's see. The easiest way would be for me to probably make a copy of this file, and I'll just call this balance sheet. And I'm going to delete everything from the third row and down. I'll just hold down Shift and press Control- to delete. All right, so here I'm gonna start with assets, and I'm actually gonna call our next session current assets and then bank accounts. All right, I think our styling may be a little bit wonky because of how we copy this data from the income statement tab. I'm just gonna fix that at the end. So then I have bank accounts, which is gonna consist of a checking account, and then we'll get to our total bank accounts. Then I have accounts receivable, which really just has its own sub-account. Now, it's not so common that you have this situation where it's just one account inside a parent account called the same, but a lot of accounting softwares will want to treat this account very specially, so it'll have its own section. I know that's very popular, at least with QuickBooks Online. All right, then we have other current assets, and we are gonna have prepaid expenses, inventory, security deposit, due to from officers, and then total other current assets. Then we'll sum up all of our current assets. Then we'll get into our fixed assets. So that is going to mean our computers, our furniture, our equipment, and any accumulated depreciation. And that is gonna get us our total fixed assets. This may also be called like property, plant, and equipment. Okay, then we have intangible assets. And those intangible assets are going to be, let's say, trademarks and copyrights. Total intangible assets. And that should get us to our total assets. Okay, now let's do liabilities and equity. It's common that you'll see just a heading for liabilities and equity as the second half of your balance sheet, but the next part will be liabilities. And then we are going to have our current liabilities, accounts payable. And again, just like our accounts receivable, it's common to have a section just for accounts payable because of the unique nature in which that account is set up with processing bills. All right, then we have other current liabilities, which is going to be accrued expenses, payroll, deferred revenue, let's say sales tax payable, and then that'll be our total other current liabilities. Now we get to our long-term liabilities. So those can be debts. Maybe it is a convertible note that the company took out, which will be separated by the principal and the accrued interest. That'll get us our total convertible notes. And that'll then wrap up our total long-term liabilities. Now it could also be like a term loan or something else. All right, that should then wrap up our total liabilities. Then we have our equity, which can be common stock, preferred stock, additional paid-in capital, retained earnings, net income, and then our total equity. Okay, the last thing, I'm gonna write total liabilities and owner's equity. And now I just wanna put a check row, and that is going to check to confirm that assets indeed equal liabilities plus owner's equity. Okay, so let's now do the same thing that we did last time, where I'm just gonna populate with zeros those accounts that actually are accounts as opposed to just headings and subtotals. So this is actually an example of one that isn't that. So I'm just gonna cut that information and paste it over here. Then this accounts receivable, I'm just gonna hold Control-C, Shift, Control-V, and I'm just gonna keep doing that for each account. Okay, I have it all now populated. Let me just bring this back all down to 0. And let's just see if we could fix the actual styling of this so it's a lot easier to understand what is should be nested as a grouping into what. So I have current assets. Let me see, where do I get to total current assets? Right here. So I'm just gonna take first all of my assets, and I will indent one with Alt H6. Then I have current assets that I will bold from here to here. I'll select all this, Alt H6 again. Now this should be indented inside bank accounts. Let's just put an S after that, and we'll bold both of those. Then this is another item that should be indented, Alt H6. And then we have other current assets, Alt H6, and I'll bold this and this. Okay, now let's do the same thing for fixed assets. Select all of this, Alt H6, bold intangible assets, Alt H6, and then bold both of these. Okay, now I'm gonna keep going for my liabilities and owner's equity. So I'm gonna indent everything over here by 1 because it's all part of liabilities and owner's equity. I'll hit Alt H5 to undo the indent here. All right, then current liabilities need to be indented. So I'll indent all the liabilities and then I'll do the same thing for our current liabilities. Make a bold, Alt H6, and we'll do other current liabilities, long-term liabilities, and then convertible notes as well. It looks like I just have a typo here, so let's just change principal to principal as such. And that gets us our total liabilities, and now we have our equity as the last section, Alt H6, and bold this. Okay, now we just need to populate in these subtotals. So I'll hit Alt equals as such, Alt equals again, Alt equals. Now, unlike in our profit and loss where we had sub-accounts where you could sum the parents, this is actually a section. You can't really have a value in a section heading. So now we have total current assets as the sum of total other current assets. Oops, let's try that again. The sum of other current assets, accounts receivable, and bank accounts. All right, now for fixed assets, I'm just gonna sum this here with Alt equal. For intangible assets, we'll hit Alt equals. And then for total assets, it is going to be intangible assets plus fixed assets plus current assets. That should cover everything. All right, we are doing great. Let's just hit Alt equals over here. Let's do the same thing with other current liabilities. Let's do the same thing now. This shouldn't be here as such. Alt equals for total convertible notes. Total long-term liabilities is just going to be equal to the convertible notes. And then total long-term liabilities plus other current liabilities plus accounts payable is going to be our liabilities. And finally, all of our equity gets summed up as such, and this will be the sum of our equity and our liabilities. Last thing that I'm going to do is say over here equals assets equals, or rather just say equals assets minus liabilities and owner's equities. We always want this to be 0. They must always tie. All right, let's just hold down Shift and let's paste. So I'm gonna actually just select all of these values over here. I'm gonna click on Home, Go to Special. This is one of my favorite things to play around with. And we're gonna say formulas, and all of these I think are fine. I'll click OK, and check it out. Now I have all of my formulas, so I could just hit a bold and all of this will now be bolded. And then let's just add an extra line between the check, and let's actually make this a red so that anytime a value pops out, it is going to scream at us that we have an error. All right, and there you have it, a full balance sheet. Nicely done. Oops, forgot this over here. Okay, now you're done.